Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, you'll learn about AWS services. Today we are going to talk about how you can create and custom visual transform in AWS Glue. It's a very interesting topic. Let's get started about it. So first, let's understand what Glue Studio is quickly, because I have covered this topic in greater detail in some of my other tutorials. So I just simply recap it so that you know the basic premise before you get started. So Glue Studio is used to create Glue job in a visual and graphical way. Using Glue Studio, you can use drag and drop approach to create your job using AWS console. So in Glue Studio, you create job by using different types of nodes, and basically you use three types of node: source node, action node, and target nodes. And source nodes are used to read data from the data source systems. Action node is used to perform different type of data transformations, update, and computing. And the target node is used to write data at the destination. So these three different combination of nodes, you create a workflow, a business logic using Glue Studio to complete the ETL job for your data ingestion or data transformation. So let's get into some of the examples of this source, action, and target. So for instance, source nodes, which are used to read data from the data source. Few examples over here. Now, like for instance, the four examples I'm showing over here, you can use Glue data catalog source node, which can be used to read data from Glue catalog table, or Kinesis, which can read data from a data stream, or you can also, for instance, read data from any of the relational databases like MySQL or Postgres or SQL Server or Oracle, and you can also read data from Amazon Redshift. As I mentioned, these are the few source nodes. It's not the complete list, but I just gave you some examples so that you understand what exactly source nodes are. Now, the action nodes are used to transform data. They are used to perform computing and business logic on your data to transform it. And few examples here, like you can use join node, which can be used to actually join more than one data sets or data frame together. You can use evaluate data quality node, which can be used to actually evaluate the quality of the data. In fact, I created another video which talks about how to use data quality node. You can use filter or rename field nodes, which can be used to filter your records or even rename the column to something else. Again, few examples here, but the actual list of the action nodes is much bigger than what I'm showing over here on the screen. Similar, we have target nodes, which are used to write data. And a few examples here are Amazon S3 target node, which can be used to write data to S3 bucket, Amazon Redshift node used to write data to Redshift database, and MySQL Postgres target nodes, which can be used to write data to MySQL or PostgreSQL databases. So these are the examples of some of the target nodes. Again, not to mention that there are the number of target nodes are much larger than what I'm showing over here. Other than this out-of-box node, you also have something called custom transformation action node. So the whole idea of using the node is that you don't have to write any line of code. You can simply drag and drop these nodes in your graph, create a business logic, create a connection between them, and then that business logic becomes the business logic for your ETL job. And you don't need to write any line of code. But these nodes are not, you might find a situation where these nodes are not doing everything you need, and you might see a need where you have to create a custom transformation. For instance, you want to write some custom code to perform your data transformation. So you want to go beyond just out-of-box configuration. You find that these out-of-box configuration based actions or transformations are not fitting your business need, and you might want to create some custom code to perform your data transformation. And this situation can come very often. And if that is the case, in that case, Glue Studio does provide something called custom transform action node, where actually you can write your line of code. So you can see if you drag and drop custom transform, actually you get an opportunity to create your own custom code using PySpark, and you can perform transformation on your data frame. Now, let's anchor it here, because from here I want to move on to custom visual transform. So what if you want to create this custom code, but you want to make this custom code reusable? So if it is one of the custom transformation, like you're using it for a particular job and that's it, I'm done, then fine, you can write your custom transform into a code and done with it. But what if you are building a business logic, you're building a transformation which you want to reuse, which you want other developers to use in their own jobs, or other ETL jobs to use it? So it's a kind of common business logic, common data transformation which you want to build and let others developers ETL jobs use it. And that's where you find challenge with custom transform, because custom transform is not designed for reusability. You cannot you cannot say, okay, fine, I'm going to reuse my this code in other jobs as well. This is very much particular to a particular job. So reusability, it's a job level transformation. It is not designed for reusability. So custom transformation does help you create custom code, but it does not help you with custom transforming. It does not help with you reusability. And that's where custom visual transform come into the picture, because custom visual transform not only support creating a custom code, but they can also they can also support reusability. So basically what you can do, that you can actually create a custom action node performing custom transformation the same way you have been doing with your custom transform action node. But then you can make it reusable. But you can make it reusable in such a way that it will be available in the action node list in Glue Studio. So when you're building your Glue job from the Glue Studio, actually you can drag and drop this custom visual transform, just like other action nodes, and build your job. And not only you can do it, but you can create it for reusability. That means any other developers who want to reuse this custom transform, it can also do that. So so basically you can create a reusable custom transform, which other developers can simply use it without writing any line of code. So, and that's very important, because if you are the author of custom transform, you are writing a custom code, because you are basically creating a custom transformation code and creating and configuring it for reusability. But if other developers are using it, they don't need to write the code. They can simply use the configuration to use this custom transform. So that's another beauty, that when others are using this custom transform, they don't need to write the code again. They can simply go and use the configuration, just like they use configuration in out-of-box source, action, or target nodes. So basically you do have an opportunity that if you see that you have a lot of reusable custom transforms or custom code which you want the developers to use across different jobs, you do have an opportunity to create a reusable library of custom action nodes, which you can configure and let other developers use it across different jobs in through the configuration. Okay, so most fundamental thing here is that you can create a custom action node and configure it for reusability, And when other developers are using that for any kind of transformation, they don't need to write the code. They can simply configure this custom action node and make use of it. When I show you demo and some examples, probably it will make more sense. How does it look? But I think you must have got the essence now. So what are the good candidates for this custom visual transform? Well, the core is reusability, because you were earlier also able to create a custom transformation. Well, it was available in action node, but the purpose here is to configure it for reusability. So you might want to choose some examples, some custom transformations, custom code, which will be reused. It could be any of the proprietary business calculation or formula which you want to create a custom action node, which people can simply use it. Or it could be some very generic transformation which is not available out of box in Glue Studio. So it could be any of those things, but most important thing here is that the code should be reusable, because that's the purpose of custom visual transform, that you build something which others can use without writing a single line of code. Okay, so how do we create this custom visual transform? Well, it's a three-step process at high level. Well, not high level, low level, all levels. So first you create a config file. The config file is used to tell how does what are different parameters of this custom transform, what is the name of it, a description, and those kind of things. Then you create a custom code. Of course, you end up there is a custom transform. You write some PySpark code which you want to use to perform the custom transformation you want to perform. And finally, you upload this config file and custom code to some S3 bucket in a specific location, and I will talk about that. And when you do that, it is ready for reusability. So it's a pretty simple and straightforward process. So let's get started with config file forms. I'm sorry about this coughing. So let's create some this config file. How does this config file look like? So let's take an example of a config file. This is how the config file look like. It's a JSON document, end of day. And let's talk about some of the important aspects of this JSON document. So first of all, yeah, it's a JSON document. Then you provide certain things about this custom transform, that in the actions span, in the actions drop down, what should be the display name of this transform, what should be the description, what should be the name of this transform. So you provide some name, display name, and description of this transform. Then you provide the function name. So end of day, you are writing a custom code which this transform is going to use. So, and it's a custom code written in Python. So basically it is asking here that, okay, tell me what is that function name which it's going to invoke to perform the transformation. And you mentioned that function name over here, and I'll show you the function code as well. Then you will start making more sense of it. Then you also provide parameters. So here, so initial things like name and description and so on. Then when you use any of the source, target, or action node, you must have seen that you can configure those nodes. So what are different parameters you can configure? So you can see here that it is asking for email and phone as 2 parameters. Okay, and then for each of these parameters you can provide what will be the name of the parameters, what will be the display name of the parameters. Okay, you can also provide what data types. In this example, it is both string, but it supports other data types like Boolean or integer as well. And then you also provide description of the parameter. So it basically config file tells you how does the visual display of this custom control or this custom action node is going to look like. So once we have created the config file, the second step is to, in fact, let me show you some more examples, because these parameters can be configured in a very, it's very flexible way actually. So having understood the basic construct of a config file, let's take some examples where you can configure these parameters in a different way. So this is one example where it is configuring an email ID, and it wants to make sure that it is a valid email ID, because you want some kind of data validation. And this example, for instance, it's using a regular expression and to determine if the value entered in the in the text box will be a valid email ID. So this is one example where you can use validation rules. I mean, and there are other ways also to configure validation rule. This is another example where it's using integer as data types, and it's saying that whether this parameter is optional or mandatory. So you can say you can set optionals true and false to determine whether it's an optional parameters or it is a mandatory parameter, and that way, yeah, I mean, you can control the configuration of your node. You can also select values like, for instance, example here where it's saying that, okay, this is string type, but you cannot type everything. You have to select from a list of options. And in this case, the option is male, female, or other. So this is another example where you can actually create a drop-down kind of behavior where you can select only from pre-listed values. So these are some of the examples of the custom transforms. Now, like parameter configuration for custom transform. Now let's talk about how does the custom code look like, because custom transform was all about how does my parameter configuration and the node configuration is going to look like. But basically the core of the whole thing is the custom code. And that custom code is where you write the business logic to perform the transformation. And this is how the template of that custom code look like. So basically, you start with importing your. I mean, you can import more library, but in this example, for instance, it is simply importing a dynamic frame library from AWS Glue. This is the function name. So this is the function. So this is a Python code, by the way. Yeah, this is the function name. So remember, we mentioned the function name in the config file. This name and that name should be the same, because that's how your config file knows that this is the function name it needs to invoke. Because you might create more than one function name to make your code more granular, more readable, manageable. And in that case, you have to mention this function name in the config file to tell config file that this is the function name you want to execute. Now, this function name actually comes with a lot of parameter, but few parameters are, like, for instance, mandatory. So first one is your self. This is a mandatory parameter. Self is a mandatory parameter, because when you use a custom node, when you use action node, basically in action node you are performing transformation on a data frame or dynamic frame. So how does this data frame or dynamic frame get passed to this custom transform? That is get passed using this self. Now, the self is nothing but a data frame which is passed to this action node from the previous node. So suppose you read data from S3 bucket and then you drag and drop this custom node. So whatever data was read from S3 bucket and created into a data frame, that data frame will be passed to this function using this self. So self is the input dynamic frame or data frame on which you want to perform your transformation. Then you can pass other parameters. It's optional. I mean, you can pass. You can simply say, okay, I don't need to pass any parameter because I want to simply do some transformation on this dynamic frame in this code, but without any parameter need. But there could be a scenario where you want to parameterize your transformation. You want to pass some input values, which then can be used to dynamically do data transformation on your data frame. So you can pass then a list of parameters over here one by one, which then can be used for data transformation. Then you, of course, create your custom code. So using this dynamic frame and using this parameter, you can define the whole business logic of your data transformation. It could be whatever you want, for whatever that reusable thing you want to do with your action node. So you create that business transformation, and you simply you return it. So this is how the this is how the custom code look like. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, simply saying that, hey, I'm passing my dynamic frame to this function and some parameters, and you simply use PySpark code to do this data transformation on my on this dynamic frame. And once you're done, you simply return it. Yeah, that's what it's asking. Now, you must have seen that this config code and custom code both go side by side, because both have to marry to each other in order to provide the business functionality. So let's put these two config and code side by side and match them, so that you understand how both has to be similar to each other. Both have to support each other, or both have to connect to each other. So few things here. So first one, you see the function name over here, the custom filter state. This custom filter state is the function name, which is performing the data transformation. That is mentioned in the function name over here as well. And that is something you set here in the dynamic frame as well. So this function name, this instance, and this instance should match. Then this is the transformation name. This is a transformation name, and you see here this is a transformation name. Well, by the way, right now it is matching to the function name, but it could be different as well. So this is a transformation name which is matching to the transformation name over here. So where you're saying dynamic frame transformation name equal to this function name. That is the last line you write in your custom code. So first match is on the function name. You can see here it's mentioned in config file, function name, and then it's returned over here for the transformation. The second one is the transformation name. Now, what I have seen in practice in many examples is that generally people keep the function name and the transformation name both the same. So it makes it really very simple. I'm not sure it's the best practice or not, but yeah, I mean, it can make your job simpler for sure. So what I've seen that, like the example over here, the transformation name and the function name people keep the same. And when you do that, it makes your life little simpler, because then you don't get confused between the function name and transform name. You can simply mention one name everywhere, and you will be sure that your configuration is going to work. Now, other than that, you can see parameters are also matching. So if you look at the config over here, it has got this call name and the state as the parameter, okay? And both are passed exactly the same way. You can see in this function, you are passing the call name, state, you are passing the same as a parameter. So you know that in your custom code, you can pass multiple parameters. Those parameter names should match to what is mentioned in your config file. So this is how your config and code both match to each other. And if you do this way, then it will be a valid configuration, and then your custom transform is going to work. So once your config file and your custom code is ready, then the next step is to go and upload it to S3 bucket. And this is the simplest part. So what you do first, you save your config file. Suppose you give this a name, mytransform.json file. It's a JSON document, end of day. Then you write your custom code, which you save like, say, mytransform.py. Now, this example here, you see your config file and your custom code both should have the same name. The extension on .json and .py, that is okay, but their name should be the same, and it is mandatory, because that's how Glue comes to know that this custom code and this custom and this config file both are together. So you have to keep the same name for config file and transformation code. And once you have done that, once you have saved these two files, you simply upload it to AWS Glue Assets Account ID region transform folder. Now, if you have used the Glue job in your account in the region, then this bucket will already be created. But if this bucket is not created, you can create this bucket by your own. You can simply create this bucket, and once you create this bucket, create this transform folder under in this bucket, and then and then upload these two files over there, and that's it. Your custom code is ready. Okay, so keep in mind that this account ID you have to replace with AWS account ID, and this region you have to replace with the region code, like EU West 1 or things like that. So um, this upload to you, so you upload it to a custom to a bucket which is bundled to an account ID and region. That means whatever custom code you are writing, basically you can use it only you can use it in Glue across various developers, not a problem, across various Glue jobs, but only in that account in that region. And that could be a challenge for some people, saying that, oh wow, but my developers work in a different regions on different accounts. How about that? Because I mean, like, if all your developers are working in the same account in the same region, then it's not a problem for you, because by default it is available for the same account in the same region. But what if your requirement is same account and different regions, or different accounts and different regions? If that is the case, that is also doable. What you have to do is that you have, if you want to make it cross region and cross account, two approaches you can do. You can simply create all this configuration at one place in one account, one region, and then either manually or through code you simply copy it to other accounts and other regions. So you can create some event-based code in your S3 bucket, which will, so whenever the file is created or updated, you can simply go and copy it to other accounts and other region. Since for configuration, all it needs is copying these two files to S3 bucket. Just copying will be more than enough. Or if your organization is very small, you can do it manually. Or if you want to make it more automation without writing any code, then you can also use S3 automated replication feature, where you can choose one account, one region for the development purposes. But once you create any custom transform and upload it, it should automatically get replicated to other account and other region, and that's it. Because there is no account or region hard coding into your config file or in your code. All you need to do is simply create these files and copy in the different regions and different accounts, and wherever you copy, your custom code is your custom transform is available for for consumption. Now, so hope you understand this part. So moving on, so as I said, you use custom visual transform without using any code. That means, for instance, example over here, if I'm creating a my transform custom code, then you can drag and drop my transform like this, and it will show you a configuration page like this, depending on how many parameters you have allowed. Like in this case, you can see it has email, phone, age, gender, currency, country as the parameters. So you can so I said that you not every developer has to write the code for reusing it. Only the original developer has to write the code, and others can simply drag and drop and configure it and make use of it. Okay. So moving on. So what we are going to do today? So what I'm going to do today is create a very simple custom transform node, and that node will be called filter by deal size. So basically what it will do, that it will take an order data frame, and it will simply, you can simply filter your data, your orders data based on whether a deal is a small deal or a medium deal or a large deal. So that's what I'm going to that's what I'm going to show you in the demo today. So how to create such transformation. So let's move to the AWS console. So this is my AWS console, where let me show you where is my orders data. So my orders data is in Dozo my data bucket sales folder, and here I've got my sales.csv file, and this CSV file is keeping all my order data. Okay. Now, in the same folder, I have created an output folder where when I use my custom transform, I want to write my output file. So I just kept it open on one of the tabs, and it is blank right now. So we'll use it later. Let's go to AWS console. In AWS console, you can see that Dozo my data sales table or data I have cataloged in a sales table. And if I open this sales table, you can see different fields of the sales table, and one of the field is deal size, which takes string as which is string type data, and this deal size column I'm going to use to basically filter based on whether deal is a medium size or a large size or a small size. Okay, so let's also go to Glue Studio. Glue Studio, what I want to show is that I want to simply create a new job, and I want to show you that basically your job is your action node does not have any filter by deal size custom code. So if I walk you through this, you can see here there is a filter one, but there is no filter by deal size. So that kind of configuration, that kind of action node does not exist. So I simply close it, and why I'm closing that way. Let's go back to jobs, refresh, there is no job. And if I go to my last one, which is remember when you create a config file and custom code, you have to upload it to Glue assets, account number, and region number or region code, and in the transforms folder. Right now that is also empty because I don't have any custom code or custom transform at this point of time. So I'm all set to configure it. So what I will do, I will show you how does the custom transform look like. So here is my custom transform. So first let me show you my config file. So the config file is called filter deal. Basically, it filters deal by size. So used to filter deal by size of deal small, medium, or large. It takes only one parameter, which is deal size, which is of string type, and that parameter takes only three options: small, medium, and large. And it is not optional; it is mandatory that you configure this particular parameters. As simple as that. So now what I do, and here you can see that I have kept my function name and transform name as the same. So now here is my code, or custom code, where I'm simply saying that I import my dynamic frame, then this is my function, which is filter deal, and this name is same as my function name here. And then here I say my column is basically deal size, and I'm simply using this is my dynamic frame, which is coming self, and this is the parameter value. This is getting passed. All I'm saying is that I want to filter my dynamic frame where this deal column size value is equal to this deal size you're getting passed over here. So I kept the both names same, so it's probably confusing, but basically what I'm doing here is that based on small, medium, or large deal size passed, I'm simply filtering down my data set for those kind of deals and returning it, and I'm simply returning it back. Yeah, so keeping it pretty straightforward. And then finally I'm saying for this this transform is using this particular function name. So pretty straightforward code, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do here, in order to make it available for reusability, what I need to do is that I need to upload this to my transform folder over here. So I simply click on upload button over here. Oops, hello. Yeah, upload button over here. And then I'm simply going to drag and drop these two files. So if I drag and drop these two files from my other screen, you can see this filter deal.json and filter deal.python, both file name has to be same. I simply upload it here, and it should be there any moment now. So you can see here that now my files are uploaded, and that's all I need to do in order to create, in order to make this custom transform reusable. Now if I go to my Glue Studio and say, okay, I want to create a job. In this case, I'll say I want to create a job, but my data source is basically data catalog, create. So now let's start configuring. But first thing first, let's go to action here. And if I show over here, if you come all the way to the bottom, oops, okay, so this is not visible. Okay, let me do this way. Probably it's a caching problem. So what I will do, I will go to my jobs and I will refresh this page once. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Let me do this way. Let me open one more time this thing. So let's go to okay. So I opened Glue Studio one more time. Fair enough. Nice. So now if I go to jobs and let's create a job again. Okay, and if I go to actions, yeah, filter by deal size. So that was a refresh problem. Okay, probably you have to refresh your Glue Studio page once. So you can see I can get this thing here. So anyway, so let's quickly configure it. So here's my data catalog. I want to say I want to read from DojoDB and I want to read from my sales data. Then I need to drag and drop my filter by deal size. And then here, this is all fine. I can get rid of this particular node. And then this destination, I need to say that the parent is filter by deal size. Okay, fair enough. So so my source is configured. Let's perform my custom action nodes. You can see here, all I need to do is simply select the deal size and say, suppose I'm selecting here small. And then I go to my destination where I'm saying that I'm going to write that into a CSV file. No compression. The location is, if I go to Dojo, my data, output location, choose. Great. So that's all I need to do here. So you can see here that I'm reading from my Dojo database sales table, simply selecting my filter by deal size, my custom action node, selecting the deal size, and destination is CSV in the output location. Let's configure this job. Let's call it my Dojo job. Role is basically Dojo Glue role. I'll keep everything same, no changes, only number of retries I want to make it 0 because if it fails, I don't want to rerun it. And then I simply save it. So now it's saving my job. My job is ready. I'm now going to run it. So I run my job, and if I go to my runs tab over here, you can see it's running. So let's wait till this job finishes. Then I will show you the output, and we'll see if we have been successful in using the custom transform code or not. See that my job has succeeded. So fantastic. So let's go to the output folder, and if I refresh this particular folder, you can see that output is created. Now if I select this particular object written over here, go to query with S3 select, and my input is in a CSV format, comma formatted, no compression, output in a CSV format, fair enough. Let's see five rows. So you can see over here that I have got my output and all the orders are small only. That means my transformation has worked. So this was the example how you can write a custom visual transform which can be made reusable, which developers can use across different jobs. and you can use your proprietary business logic or calculation to be made reusable in a configurable manner. So that was all for today. Hope you liked the video, and if you like, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I promise to come back again in a week's time with another such video. In the meantime, please stay safe and have a nice day. Bye bye.